Dear Pixie, you asked us, will the so-called negative yet still very human emotions such as guilt, envy, worry, etc. still exist in fourth and fifth density? The negative frequencies will be much harder to reach once fourth and indeed fifth density is fully anchored. This is a collective choice made by those who choose to move forward into the fifth density existence. Each person shall have the ability to access negative frequencies and thus feel negative emotion, but it is usually a higher frequency of emotion that the fifth density occupant exists within. A lower emotion may be experienced for certain learning purposes, but it is always a conscious choice and not a situation whereby the emotion is felt without the ability of control over that emotion, as happens amongst third density occupants. Are third density occurrences random, scripted, or a little of both? Each occurrence in third density is called to the individual by their own consciousness. Therefore, one could not refer to the occurrences as random. They are scripted only by the fact that certain experiences have been laid out in one's incarnate blueprint prior to incarnation. Deviation from the blueprint is experienced if the individual chooses to experience this, as he or she has free will. Experiences, therefore, are not scripted from the third density perspective, but are responses to an individual's consciousness, regardless if the individual is aware of this or not. Once the individual becomes aware that their consciousness calls to their reality their experiences and events, then that individual usually chooses to raise their overall consciousness to a point where all experiences they then call to themselves are one of conscious choosing that fall into a higher frequency wave band. Will these occurrences, both good and bad, continue to occur in fourth and in fifth density? This will be the choosing of the individual, although the duality of good and bad is not nearly so clearly defined or separate in higher densities. Is it possible for a human to ascend to fourth or fifth density, yet through malintent or actions be demoted or descend back to third? One is never demoted, for all souls move forward. Yet the service to self-polarized individual would in effect be descending into a wider or higher fifth density negative, rather than ascending, as the movement through the frequency bands takes place in an opposite configuration. Will teleportation be possible in fourth or fifth densities, and if so, would this not remove the need for transportation? Teleportation will be indeed possible, although this may not be in the way a third density individual would perceive it to be so. This would not remove the need for transportation, for there are many forms of transportation, and the individual shall have the free will to choose which method of transportation they wish to use. I understand that one of the profound differences between third, fourth, and fifth densities will be time. The psychological adjustment of evolving into a non-linear time continuum from a linear one seems unfathomable with my third density mind. I assume in fourth or fifth densities we will no longer wear wristwatches or even be concerned about being late to an appointment. One would wear a wristwatch if one chooses to do so. However, it would be unnecessary to do so, as one would always know the time. One would not have any concern about being late to an appointment, as there is no late. We understand that one is not able to fully perceive the differences in the perception of time in the higher densities. we would recommend one relaxes into the experience of being in the now moment as much as one can, as this experience is the nearest one can equate to higher density time that you have access to in third density. Will there be poverty in fourth or fifth density? One could choose to experience poverty if one wished. However, it is unlikely a higher density individual would make this choice when abundance for everything one needs and requires is available. The experiences of poverty would not sustain for long in a higher density, speaking from a third density time frame. Experiencing poverty brings much growth when experienced in third density, but other choices of experience would be more appropriate for an ascended individual. We are the white-winged collective consciousness of 9.